Next, the 2 trailers for sanitation. If you'll notice in your folders, sanitation department received 2 trailers to, 2 of the pull-behind trailers to, when they're recovering the cans, when they're having to pick them up, where people hadn't paid their bills or having to go put out cans for new residents, so this is the cost of the trailer.
Yeah, 2 trailers coming, they're going surplus those 2 trailers, or?
They got one that's damaged, and so they only have one that's actually working. Is that right?
Surplus.
I think that's correct. Didn't they have 2 trailers, Jonathan?
I'm not certain.
I think it was 2,
Mr. Chairman.
one got damaged.
Mr. Chairman, I think they did, and they are planning on surplusing the ones they've got.
Yeah.
And the 2 new ones carry a lot more cans, so that's gonna cut down on.
These are 20 foot.
They're having to make a lot of trips back and forth now, because they only carry like 8 cans or something like that.
Some way to use their cash balance to make this take the trailers.
Right. And the trailers that they're looking at, or the trailers they're looking at, I think carry 10 loads. So it's, it'll cut back on their gas, fuel consumption quite a bit too. Just want to let you know about that also.
I'm fine with putting that on.
Okay. Okay, we'll put this on the upcoming meeting. Next be the exception list for sanitation. This is we got 2 different lists for sanitation. One's exemption and one's exception. The exemption is where people falls under a certain amount, making a certain amount of money, they may qualify for exemption. But an exception has been made in the past. This goes way beyond any of us sitting up here, but it was made for folks that had dumpsters. That for some reason was allowed to use the dumpster instead of the garbage service. I propose we do away with the exception altogether.
I would agree with that, I build houses for a living, have dumpsters on almost all my job sites that, I could be getting rid of mine. And I'm still paying a garbage bill, and we've got a lot of elderly people that, narrowly miss the exemptions, and, looking over the exception list, there's several that I know that sold their business, that no longer operate a business, and they still keep a front loader dumpster there, but, I would be in agreement with completely doing away with the exception.
Mr. Ridge?
Yeah, I'm in favor of doing away with exceptions also.
Mr. Sid?
Yeah, so what you're just stating is there's not going to be any exceptions at all.
Exceptions.
Exceptions.
There'll be
There still be
exemptions.
some exceptions.
Yeah, they'll go on just like they always have.
Follow up.
Exceptions, like I said, are just folks that had been putting it in the dumpster instead of
Right.
getting service.
I can go along with it.
Everybody's good with that, and we'll put it on in the meeting following this work session. Next is the Paint Rock Valley Board. Discussion. Finally, we get to the
We finished the research that you sent us to do. You gave us the project, and we've checked into the cost and the monthly expenses of so that we could operate the former Paint Rock Valley High School campus as a community center. We presented that to the community on August the 22nd. They discussed these expenses, and we presented a PowerPoint where they could see it, and also presented some of the projects that have been done by the community before, and the proceeds that they received from those. And there's other projects that we can do besides that, so, they had talked it over and decided that they wanted to pursue the lease for the building. And, they gave some donations to us. Wasn't anywhere near what we need, but it's a start. And we have someone working on a nonprofit status for the community center. And so since they want to pursue that, we're asking you today to change our title from a committee to a board and give us the power to operate the, in order to do the official business.
Mr. Venable, I know you have something here.
I had talked to Mr. Freylock a couple of times today, I guess it was. And we had talked to Mr. Hoots, the superintendent, and he did send us a letter, but I don't know if it states what our attorney is comfortable with as far as moving forward with Craig Moore. We're gonna do it. I wanna do it, you know. I just, for my own sake, I would like to see something from the superintendent saying that you have come up with an agreement, you know, that they will lease the building to you, and I don't wanna establish a board and then they not agree to work with you guys, and then we have a board sitting out here. Yeah. And we have a board sitting out here that doesn't have, you know, anything to work with, and I know you're getting donations, and Mr. Porter may speak better to this than me. This is kind of new. I don't know where we go from where we're at. I appreciate all the work that y'all done. You've done a great job. I know you've got word out in the community, and you got a lot of support, and I guess ask Mr. Porter to kind of tell us where we need to go from here.
And this is sort of, in my mind, this is sort of like chicken and egg, what comes first, the chicken or the egg? And it looks like the best thing if the superintendent and the board would enter into some kind of letter of agreement or something that says that if the board is formed, that they will enter into a lease agreement with the board, that is the Paint Rock board, for the lease of the facilities. And once that's done, then the commission can actually form the board, create the board, and then appoint the board members. Then you've got an official entity that can enter into the lease agreement with the Jackson County Board of Education for that purpose. So I think that's sort of where we are, is if you can get a commitment from the superintendent that he will recommend to the Board of Education to enter into that agreement, and I think then we can go forward and do what needs to be done.
Okay, you received the letter from him today.
We did.
Okay, but you need something more.
I think what we need is a commitment from the superintendent, because the letter says that he's satisfied with the progress you're making. It doesn't say that either he or the board would enter into an agreement. So if you can get that commitment from the superintendent, then I think that's what we're looking for.
The language in the letter even says no final agreement has been reached for the use of the property at this point. And I don't feel comfortable with that language establishing a board.
I think maybe there was probably some miscommunication. I spoke with Mr. Dukes on the phone this past Friday, and I guess the wording's probably in the letter maybe the thing, because I was under the assumption that he's okay with starting to work on the lease and everything. But like as far as our donation and stuff, we have over $1,100, and we've tried not to solicit donations at all, but after the meeting Thursday, people just come up and basically gave us money, and you know, we just need something to where we can start create a bank account to start putting that money, so it's not just floating around.
I was gonna ask Mr. Porter about that. Could you set up an escrow account for them? For
You
those
can set up,
contributions.
you should be able to set up an escrow account, at the bank. They would set one up for you, that you can put the money in. You don't have a 501c3 tax ID number yet, I know, but you should be able to still set up an account at a bank, one of the names
On their
of the
escrow.
payroll board. And put the money in there.
The members on the board, at least three, would probably have to sign the card.
Yeah,
And they've all been on boards, you know, in different sports and stuff, and we've had to do that.
and then, once you get the board actually formed, then you get your 501c status and get your new tax ID number, then you can transfer it to that new account. So it'll be actual tax-free environment. But I would caution you about not soliciting any more funds.
Yes, that's one thing we did not want to do, but at the same time, with Mr. Dukes is wanting to try to get this as quickly as possible, we're gonna have to have some kind of funds available once we take over the lease, because we can't start operating at a zero balance. I mean, there's no way possible to get that done.
You sent me the slides that you guys had, we were out of town when you had
Right.
the meeting, I would have attended. I didn't get a chance to look at the slides,
Right.
but did it have the cost breakdown? I know you have a number of like $40,000 a year it would take to operate. Did it have a breakdown of what those expenses were? And did you guys include anything for any type of insurance? I know that the school board could probably continue to insure the property, but that, I had a short conversation with Mr. Porter, and he may be able to.
So, as far
enlighten
as-
us on this better than I can,
Everybody that we have spoke with as far as insurance wise, essentially will not even talk to us, give us any kind of quote or anything until our actual board. Mr. Dukes gave us the insurance for the property, and the total breakdown, which is on the slides, is $18,097 a year, and that covers everything, including the storm shelter on the property. And then the lot bill was somewhere around $22,000 to $23,000 a year, and I mean, the first year, we're probably not gonna be using the building a whole lot, so I think what the lot bill was, we can even drop the cost. I know, the cooler and stuff's not in the lunchroom anymore, and the lunchroom was around $1,000 a month in electricity with the cooler running, so I imagine that's gonna drop the cost of that a pretty good bit. And I just used a couple of the main events that they've had in the valley in the past as far as doing the finances, the estimated cost of what we can make, and everything we estimated was extremely low, I think, compared to what it potentially could be. And we was looking at just the 3 or 4 events that we had was right around $29,000 to $30,000, and I think easily with the extra events, like we want to do a hunting expo, some softball tournaments, things of that nature, where we could easily exceed that $40,000 a year. And I think once the Bluegrass Festival gets going again down there, that should probably be able to pay for itself. I know Eddie Prince has spoke with us, and he's more than willing to help us get it like he had it going. So I think we got a really good plan of how we're going to do things. It's just we need to try to move to the next step, because right now people's wanting to do or give us money, things like that. We can't really do anything, but we need money before we start operating. So.
I want to commend the committee for what they've done, and like I said, I was totally on the opposite side of the fence for this here, and I still am. I don't think it should ever come to the county commission. It should have been definitely the Board of Education, because you having to go back before 22 boards trying to grasp what they need to do next. And I've had several people call, and I know the time frame, if I'm not mistaken, was October when it came up. Is that correct? Within a certain time frame that we've got to put out there, basically a 6-month thing. There was something on that. Well, that's been a thing they've asked. October's almost here, and we haven't got to move forward. And, another thing, I know Mr. Rich asked a question here week before last about how things were progressing. I didn't comment because I knew kind of how things were progressing. They're doing all they can. But one of the situations that is really, it has disturbed a lot of people in the valley is they thought they were working on a facility that was gonna be kind of like it was when the school closed. They didn't know they were gonna have a gutted building. And when I say a gutted building, they came over about 6 weeks ago and pulled the walk-in freezer out of the lunchroom. I also removed numerous air conditioning units throughout off campus, and things that people are very disturbed about. You know, one guy he mentioned, and I agree with him. He said, I'm going through a broker to buy a house, and it's fully furnished. I go back and get all everything planned, and the house is empty. And he said, that's kind of what we're looking at right now. He said, you know, y'all didn't have no guidelines to go by? I said, well, it was kind of out of our hands. And I don't know if Mr. Porter can speak for that, or how the rest of you feel about that, or whatever, but it's been very disturbing, and I've had a number of people call me, because that's where I'm at over there. And I told them, I said, I have not commented on any of this thing, I just kind of try to be quiet, hoping things will progress and be on the positive side. But it does disturb me.
Good, thank you. Anybody else? I think the biggest thing would be just a little bit of a verbiage change. Before they get Mr. Duke's quote, I think a verbiage change is doable.
We'll try to also set up a meeting here in the next, our first step was just come y'all with see if we could actually get to a functioning board before we talk to Mr. Dukes, but we can go back to Mr. Dukes also and start the whole lease process. We just wanted to, we had that money that was donated, and we want to try to figure out what we could do to do that, and also start with the 501(c) process as well. So, because the quicker we get that, because we're trying to have an event October 26th, and we've talked to Mr. Dukes, and he's okay being able to use the campus if we don't have a lease agreement in place by then. So, you know, we're basically pushing up against the deadline, and we're trying to do everything we can to get the ball rolling.
2 weeks from tonight, we'll have the next regular meeting. If we have a letter in place, how long would it take to, I mean, just that night, we establish the board? So the board can have that ready for us, 2 weeks from tonight. We have a letter that the verbiage is comfortable, so we'll move forward.
I also think we need to extend that timeline, if I was correct on that. Because, like I said, October is approaching us. And they haven't got anything to really, in black and white, you know, on that.
I would assume the Board of Education would be willing to work with us as long as they know that we have a firm plan in place to take over the property.
I was wondering, do we need to get something saying that he's okay for us to do the event on the 22nd? Do we need that in writing?
That's a lawyer question.
I think we're gonna be able, if the superintendent will commit to leasing the property to you, for the Board of Education, then I think we can solve that problem, the whole problem, without having to piecemeal it. And that's what I suggest, rather than trying to do it a little bit at a time. Go ahead and get the board, get the superintendent to commit, get the board to approve it, then have the PINROC board established, and then we can do official signatures by official organizations to lease the property.
Thank you again for coming tonight, and thank you for all you do in the community.
Appreciate it. Next, please, the Rebuild Alabama Act. Mr. Campbell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. Pursuant to the recently passed Rebuild Alabama Act, as part of transparency and accountability, we must meet a August 31st deadline with a project selection. So there are 2 packets in your folders, and they should flow consistently with the previously sent email to all of you. And it's a lot of information. I will warn you of that, and I'll do my very best break it down and explain it, but I'm gonna be starting with Rebuild Alabama, and that summary sheet is what you see here, and then the pictures that are included in your packet should follow along the same road. So this is a summary of projects by our department for your selection, for allocation of the Rebuild Alabama dollars, or projects of your choosing. So I'll explain, starting from the top. You can see there in 2020, which will be the first year of anticipated revenues, what that amount will be. Just less than $600,000. Now, that will increase by near 200,000 each year. So next year, 800,000, the next near $1 million. The projects that make the most sense when we start evaluating local roads, because being mindful that federal aid, although federal aid doesn't exist any longer with Rebuild Alabama, federal aid exchange does. So that mechanism is still in place to fund our major money collectors. So when we think about Rebuild Alabama, we're really focusing on local roads and bridges. So those first three projects there all represent a previously ST funded project. What I mean by that was, it was state dollars that were redirected to the county to be able to pay high volume local roads that were not major minor collectors. So the three roads in there that you should have a picture of that were paved nearly 19 years ago for some, 18, 19 years ago, that's a hot mix roadway that has now deteriorated, and there's no mechanism in place to resurface that or fund the maintenance of that, other than routine maintenance. So that's the three projects that we placed there that look like prime candidates by our evaluation, and these are all worst first prioritization essentially. The first two are neck and neck. The last project there is in better condition, I believe you'll see, and a little lower volume ADT. That's the first section. So if one project is chosen out of those, then we'll obviously have a remainder of funds out of that 600,000. Those funds would be eligible for, local road resurfacing. So to bring in a good mix, our suggestion would be local road, tar and gravel, chip seal roadways. Obviously, there's way more candidates represented in this list than the remainder from that fund will furnish. And I think as you flip through these pictures of local roads and see the conditions of these local roads, you'll agree that 150,000 or whatever's left from that 600,000 is not going to go far, but there's a tremendous amount of need represented in this collection of local roads. So this collection of local roads fits in that space under number 2 there on proposed tar and gravel local roads. And then moving on down this sheet, lastly, is the federal aid exchange fund that I mentioned, as well as a federal aid ballot. So there's no longer federal aid, the $533,000 as we knew it, to go toward our federal aid routes for resurfacing. That is being exchanged for $400,000 of ST money, like ST money, that has less restrictions, does not require the 20% match, etc. So the federal aid balance needs to be spent, the remaining federal aid balance we have needs to be spent, along with an obligation of this new $400,000 federal aid exchange. So all that is detailed in the bold print, and then the projects that we have that as suggestions are listed. Some of these projects listed would lend themselves to federal aid exchange and not federal aid. So remembering that the federal aid dollars that we have a remaining balance of still comes with the guidelines that are in accordance with federal aid. The federal aid exchange are less stringent. We can use standard county design practices on them. And then moving on down the list, out of those are pavement preservation options. So I know I always put those in there, and it probably makes your decision harder. But I just think it's important to see that if we had dollars to be able to put toward preservation, you can see there that we could cover twice the ground with a less expensive treatment versus having to go into full-blown researching like the project's about it. And then lastly, bridge repairs. We won't get into bridge stuff tonight, but I just want you to know that that's on our radar. Those need work. They're prime candidates for federal aid exchange funds, and they will require action in the near future. So that was a lot of information fast, and we're talking about a lot of projects. Are there questions that I can explain further?
None of these dollars can be directed toward the $6 million worth of flood damage that we have. Or can it? Would it be wise for us to do that?
I suppose you could not do any of this work. Finance some sum of money and take all of this money and apply toward a debt service?
I don't think Mr. Manning, I don't think in the current situation we are with the TVA and with the tax going down and with our revenue going down, I'm not sure that we can even get the money, to be honest with you, for something like that.
Also, I think you use 50% of the money, right, for debt.
50% of that new tax money that's coming in.
In other words-
Gas tax.
Yeah, it's 50% can be used for debt, repayment, I think. So whatever the $599 is, you can use half of it for debt. So if you do that, then you're spending a lot of money, just.
Road system, like I said before, is already in regression. If we stop working on our roads to address the $6 million worth of damage, it's gonna get even worse, to quantify the problem that we have without having enough funding. I'm not advocating for moving this dollars, I just wanted to have that conversation to make sure that everybody understood, what our options are. And all this has to be done by the 31st of this month, right?
Yes, sir.
And this other thing that we still gotta talk
Yes,
about.
So I guess a factor in that too would be, I guess if I were sitting there and had to make the decisions you do, which I don't envy those decisions, but you would probably also have to think about people served. So ADT factors into this. For example, one of the SD projects that we're proposing, that's 1,200 ADT, 1,200 cars a day. So you think about that in comparison with some of our other areas that have issues. You're really talking about a lot of people using this road. It goes to a school, there's another 1,100 ADT roadway. So talking about a lot of travelers in these projects we're talking about traveling 18, 19-year-old pavement.
I don't think we need to ignore doing what we can do to turn around and take those dollars to service the debt that, like I said, it's hard decisions.
Well, the first one is 25, like you said, it's 1,200, the average is 1,200 a day. It's 1.8 miles, it's $452,000. That would leave us, and so, well, I get figured we could do 687, 350, 422, and 9. We'll take care of that rebuild Alabama. And then we jump down to the federal aid exchange, do 33 and 90, and that will do that will take up the funding there. Because at this time, even if we could, it would take us, there's no way by the 31st that we could get the information on loan, even if we could get a loan by the 31st, it'd have to be on the next year's funds, not on this of the 31st. Is that correct?
What roads did you say? You have one in each district.
687 in District 1, District 2 is 350, District 3 is 422, District 4 is 9.
And you're picking out like a mileage that would fit the dollar amount, basically, right?
Yeah, and trying to equal out the $150,000 over.
We don't have ADTs on these roads because they're not major collectors.
Yes, sir, that's correct.
Well, District 4, that's just where Mr. Bishop lives up there, and it's a total disaster on that 142. But,
You got to look at the dollar amount, that's what we were looking at.
I know what
And you're looking at 2 districts worth of funds in that one road.
Yeah.
And don't you have to drive on 9 in order to get on to that road?
Yes.
On 140 and 520, but not 140.
But not 142.
Down there is probably the worst road that we saw on the survey, but section of 9, is a higher travel roadway. It's pretty rough too.
It's rough.
142 is also rough, as is 520.